Assalamu alaikum. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Scope. We are continuing our series of bringing on forward thinkers and innovators doing amazing things in our community. Today we have a phenomenal guest, Allahumma barik, someone whose impact is truly global. We have the founder of Somalis in Tech, Abshir. Welcome.
Jazakallah khair. I don't know. I don't know if all of that is true, man. I don't know about no phenomenal, bro. But Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, wallahi, it's amazing because it obviously is one of the things that we were thinking about. We've known about Somalis in tech for a long time, but the guy behind the scene, the founder, I was thinking about that for a while when Abshir mentioned it. He said, you know what, Abshir, I've met him, and definitely, it would be lovely to actually have a conversation with him. I was all in. I was like, yo, we need to have a conversation with him.
Found him, guys. We found him.
I hope I can live up to to that standard, man.
Yeah, Allahumma barik.
Inshallah.
Marka, you're from London.
I am indeed. I'm from Camden, London.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
How is it growing up in Camden?
Wallahi, it was amazing. So we came to the UK in around like 92, I believe, something like that, after, the Civil War, and pretty much, spent my whole life here. So I haven't known anything but Camden.
Yeah.
So it's been really nice, and I guess one of the themes throughout my time here is being community, and especially around the Somali community. So there was a lot of people that kind of came, or they slowly came, in and around that time. So whenever we see another Somali, it's just like automatic. That's your cousin, or this is your, we'd go to their house. They'll come to ours. So
Yeah.
I'll say that's like the main flavor of my experience growing up here.
Amazing. And who are your influences in terms of people you've, in the community growing up?
Wallahi, there's a lot, because to be honest, one of the things that
First of all, do you guys have a good community in Camden?
we got a wonderful community. Yes,
yeah,
we do. There's organizations that I used to kind of be a part of, attending. They used to do like football clubs, and they used to take us on trips and things like that. So and they did the most that they could, making us feel all welcome. And I think we really kind of connected, and we all kind of knew each other. And then now we've grown up, so we kind of take on that mantle and take on that responsibility and continue the work. And alhamdulillah, these organizations also still exist. There's one organization that I'd love to shout out called Somali Youth.
Plug them.
Yeah, Somali Youth Development Resource Center. So we actually collaborate with them, offering kids code. We teach them how to code every Tuesday, and we do it at their center every Tuesday in King's Cross. So, and I grew up attending football sessions there. They used to take us swimming and things like that. So, it's full circle. And back to your question where you asked around role model, I think a lot of like growing up here, everyone was on survival mode.
Yeah.
So it was slightly different, I would say, But I do have amazing role models, especially within my family. I have one of my favorite people in the world, my cousin in the Jama. She's also a doctor. She was working for the World Health Organization, and now she's retired, and she's now in Bosaso. She's opened up a big hospital there, and she's helping hundreds of people in and around the region. So she is by far one of my role models, and I was lucky enough to kind of live with her for a bit in Egypt. So yeah, she's got a special space in my heart.
But you know what it is, yeah. I've noticed that, like with Londoners, I don't know, innit? Maybe I'm being stereotypical. I feel like Londoners, where they grow up, they probably just stay in their own area to begin with. Maybe branching out of where they're from is like, nah. So like, if it's Camden, maybe not that far from Camden. Did you ever like venture out sometimes?
Nah.
Or just stick?
Absolutely not.
You're right there.
I'm all right.
The stereotype fits.
Don't venture out.
Don't venture out too much.
Absolutely not. So I grew up in Camden, not far from Camden Lock. That's where you mentioned Guanabana.
Yeah, yeah.
So I grew up like literally right next to it.
Okay.
But now I live closer to like central London. I live in Russell Square, but it's still within the borough of Camden.
Yeah. Still
So
close.
I still rep it.
You haven't gone too far away.
I haven't. I'm on the edge now.
Yeah. Nah.
From the research I've done,
Okay. Uh-oh.
that you've always had a love for computers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, someone's talking about them big back computers.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
absolutely, absolutely.
How did that come about? Is it just from a young age?
Yeah, pretty much. So I've always been curious. I've always been a tinkerer. You know, when the DVD before DVD, when the VHS player
Damn,
doesn't
yeah, I
work,
remember
you know,
VHS.
connect up the cables and the
people-
wires. You know, we had like this very tiny TV. You know, that guy, it was heavy.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll be the one fixing the aerial when the reception's not nice.
The antennas, huh?
Yeah, or analog. Everything's digital
that's
now.
a shout out, bro.
We're going way back.
That's a way back,
We
bro.
go way back.
Show my age, bro.
I say 9.
So I've always been a tinkerer. And then one of my favorite cousins, he's also a doctor. SubhanAllah. There's something about doctors, right? MashaAllah. He bought me my first computer. He lives in the States right now. He bought me my first computer when I was around, I can't remember, like 12 or 11, 13, something like that. And I fell in love straight away. You know, would kind of use it for homework. There used to be like a encyclopedia. There was no like good internet then. Well, we never had it, so we would have to kind of buy. There was no Wikipedia, so there used to be like a CD called Encyclopedia or Encarta Encyclopedia.
Okay.
So I would always kind of be learning things on there, and then later on, as I got bored, I would open up the computer, put it back together, you know, upgrade the RAM while I'm pretty young at the time. And then the internet came along. You can't use, you know, the internet, or you can't use the telephone while the internet is on. Yeah, because of the dial-up thing. So alhamdulillah, I grew up, you know. Yeah.
I know that, bro.
So yeah, would infect my computer with all sorts of diseases using, you know, LimeWire and things like that. So, you know, all the music, I would download it on there. So alhamdulillah, I think so. That's where my you know, curiosity kind of grew. I was able to kind of really explore that, but I never knew that there was a viable pathway in that. Right, the only thing that, you know, I knew growing up was like being a doctor, lawyer. I didn't know that there was a career in this. So even the way I kind of stumbled upon my current career it was very different, you know. So it was I went to school, you know, GCSEs and everything, but then took some time to travel, stayed with my cousin I was mentioning earlier on in Egypt, and then came back, and I actually wanted to become a doctor, you know.
Okay.
But then unfortunately, I had to kind of go back to school, right? And the course that I needed to get into was full. So I was like, okay. So I went for whatever was available at the time, and that was sports science, you know. So I did that for a bit, literally a couple months. I think I was around 18 at the time. I didn't really like it, you know. So I decided to, you know, leave that and just started working. You know, I just started working pretty much straight away.
You were allowed to do sports science. I'm surprised about that.
Forget that. What was the press like? You know, he said, "Listen, I'm not gonna do uni anymore. I'm gonna work."
Yeah. Wallahi, it was. To be honest, Hoy was very supportive.
Okay, mashallah.
You know, so Hoy was very supportive, and I guess it was, you know, Hoy was like, okay, you know what, Ilahi got you. Whatever you do, and that's what, subhanAllah, Hoy is, Hoyas are genuinely the backbone of our societies. You know, they're carrying so much, subhanAllah. So Hoya, again, like really supportive. And around that time that I did, so I was in Egypt. I kind of skipped quite a bit. I was in Egypt. I was living with my cousin, but a few people from Camden were also there as well. And they were studying Arabic and Quran and things like that. We got pretty close, and then one by one, each one would get married. And I was like I was really young then. So I was like, I think I was like 17 when I went. They all started getting married. I was like, you guys are crazy. Why are you getting married?
What's going on there?
But they are older than you. You think they're the same age as you?
Yeah. So they were like in their 20s. I mean, I was like a little old teenager. I'm like, well, you guys are crazy. I would never get married this young, you know. In my mind, I'll be like in my 30s, well established, and then afterwards, you know, get married. And then all of a sudden, I caught the bug as well. I'm like, you know what? You know what? I need to settle down. You know, I need to get married. You know. And Qadar Allah, I was with one of my closest friends. You know, we were living together for a bit as well. And then, and it's a funny thing because I always say to my kids, you know, you don't know what you say. What you say sometimes could become true. So one day, I remember vividly, me and him were in like the living room, and we were just like cracking joke about, you know, marriage and life in the future. And then, and we grew up together in Camden as well, right? So we were just talking about, you know, where we go with our wives. We'll take her to the restaurant and this and all that romantic, you know?
Absolutely.
And then just to annoy him, I said, bro, I'm going to marry your sister. And then we started wrestling, you know? And yeah, to get ahead, you know? Yeah. But I ended up marrying his sister, subhanAllah, alhamdulillah. At the age, Alaf, wallahi. So got married at the age of 19, alhamdulillah. Okay, yeah, so been married now coming up to 17 years, something like that, alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Nowadays it's an achievement.
Yeah. 4 months.
Well, like, it's staying married. Staying married is it's harder than getting married.
Wallahi, yeah, subhanallah. And I think well, we have Deen in Islam, you know, and Nabi Sallallahu he kind of gave us a blueprint to life, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that he mentioned is like you get married for a set number of reasons usually, right? For someone's beauty, for her lineage, the wealth, you know, all of that. And then he also mentioned Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam for her deen, right? And then he said, hold on to that. And I was like, word. So alhamdulillah, and I think that's the key takeaway here, you know, like once the foundation is you do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're good, you know, in theory, you know. Of course that comes with effort, and you have to really maintain that, you know. So
it's a starting point, of all,
absolutely. And the blessings now, so sometimes people kind of romanticize a lot of the you know, but the blessings and the sakina comes when you know, afterwards, you know, and especially when children come, that's when we're digging, you know, that's when the love really starts pouring in, and it becomes bullshit in the household.
A proper family.
Exactly. Alhamdulillah.
Can I just say, we're going to rewind because, as you can see, guys, Salman is not here, but we've replaced him with someone better. Okay. So obviously you guys know Liban. I didn't introduce him before, so my apologies. But Liban, who's been on many episodes, a very close friend of ours, and he's on this episode. He deserves obviously to be introduced.
MashaAllah.
When Salman cannot do his job, I have to come here, right?
Exactly.
He said, where is the camera?
He said he's ill. He said he's ill, but I mean,
and I'm also ill, and I still came.
Wow.
Showed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He showed up.
Look at that work ethic, wallahi. MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Throw him under the bus. No, say no, Allah Barik. It's beautiful. And I think that's barakah. The younger you get married, the better.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And حويا والسنة the Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم. And it's encouraged.
Yes.
So 100% wallahi حويا. The earlier you can do it,
Absolutely.
the better it is for it.
So I want to ask you, going on a different tangent. You know, like there's usually a bit of I wouldn't say a stereotype, but there's usually the way, for example, quote unquote Somali guys or people from our background, or when they kind of make it, right? They just want to do their own thing. They want to just go in their corner. You hear about him, you know, he's got a business, he's got this, he's making money, whatever, but he's not really in the community like that, and he's not really seen. So one of the things that, you know, we try to tackle, we try to talk about is we want to shine light on, especially men, to, you know, showcase that, hey, listen, this is what's been done, and not shy away from it. But like from your perspective, what made you think, listen, I need to actually not just work on myself and kind of help the people around me? What made you think like that?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. And, you know, for me, it's definitely like the upbringing, right? The community spirit was kind of really engraved in me, especially growing up, as I mentioned, in Camden. We were very much a community. Everyone kind of knew each other. Like we had that community, we had Duxies, and everyone kind of, you know, knew each other. So, and if one of us succeeds, we cannot all succeed. And in this journey of life, I think it's very important to definitely support each other. You know, just raise the tide in general, so that everyone. So for me, one of the reasons why I guess Somalis in tech was important for me is because I knew the struggles that I went through getting to, you know, where I was. Right, there was no support network, especially in and around tech and going to university. So I ended up going to university to study electronic engineering, and then went on to do a master's in telecommunications. Right, did a bit of, you know, RF design and things like that, but later on ended up switching to become a software engineer. So that was my journey, and I knew the challenges that came with it, right? The sleepless nights, you know, and then one day I was like in a cafe with a friend, and he introduced me to another brother, and he had his laptop out. You know, I was like,
They always have a laptop out.
yeah. So I'm like, hold on, what's going on here? You know,
Yeah.
and then he mentioned that he was a web developer, and I kid you not, that was the first time I saw another Somali, you know, in and around tech. Like similar to what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yo, this is, hold up, you exist, you know? It's so naive of me, but it just kind of shows you how like the industry was very much
Unknown.
yeah, it wasn't very diverse. Unlike, you know, growing up in a multicultural area, when you go into you know, the career or the industry, it's not like that, and that was very new to me, right? So I started going on to this brother, bro. We need to, you know, all these tech events. We need to have some tech events for Somalia, the nice, you know, supportive network. And the brother, I just met the guy. He was like, yeah, okay, continue, like, you know?
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But I caught the bug as well, you know. I'm like, all right, and then, alhamdulillah, just kind of just kicked it off. Shared that idea with a few people. They were like, yeah, you know what, we're down, and then we took it from there, and then we just kept on delivering. But the thing that really showed us that there was appetite for this was we put together like an event for, you know, founders. We called it Startup Stories. So we tried to bring together Somali entrepreneurs, people who've, you know, went and built out companies. You know, one brother, he's got like he built a company that had like investment from one of the co-founders of Twitter, and a bunch of amazing people. Another sister who was like in VC. She was a VC investor, and so it was a really nice audience, right? So we tweeted it, right? And bro, like the tickets went in seconds. And we were like, hold up, what? You know? And we had to go back to the venue, like, hey, we sold out.
Yeah.
Can we increase capacity?
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we can add, you know, 20 more people. Announced it, gone. I was like, hold up, mashallah. Everyone started coming out of LinkedIn. Before, everyone was living on LinkedIn in silence, right? And then afterwards, we COVID hit, so we had to cancel that event. But then we went online, you know, and then that was a whole new thing as well.
So before you started Somalis in Tech, had you started? Did you start any other ventures before that, or was that your first rodeo?
That was the first rodeo. I'm not very entrepreneurial. I'm not a risk taker. You know?
That's beautiful. The fact that you're not.
Yeah. I'm very much, what's it called, long game. You know, very safe and
more organized.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like when you're entrepreneurial, you have to be like a risk taker. So me, I'll take very calculated risks. You know, with every decision that I take, especially because I have children as well. So sometimes with entrepreneurial kind of lifestyle, it's up and down. The stakes are pretty high, but when you make it, it's incredible, right? But I couldn't really afford that, you know. So I had to kind of take the long way, the long, slow way, you know.
But the thing is, a lot of people think that you don't have to be the entrepreneur. You can be like a lot of these rich people in the world. A lot of them are like, they're not entrepreneurs. They're just organizers. Like, for example, like, what's that guy named, the Apple guy?
Tim Cook.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs didn't actually write stuff. It was another guy that wrote that, or Bill Gates, for example, right? Didn't actually write the stuff. They were actually the brain behind the products they were producing. But they were good organizers. They were good at making business deals. So, you know, being a good organizer, being a good, like, connected to a lot of people, it's a good thing. You don't have to be, you know, being a business is a lot of pieces.
It is a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of pieces.
If you have anything to contribute, don't be shy about it, and then just do your part. That's
Exactly.
it,
100%.
yeah. Like how many people did you like organize to come like that to your
So
event?
right now, the community is pretty huge. We have around 4,500 members in our Slack community. In Slack, yeah.
So how many countries? It's all in England.
No.
Worldwide.
So it's pretty global. So we've got the States, we've got Canada, we have events in the UAE, Sweden, Netherlands.
Mashallah. All of that,
Kenya,
all of that
yeah.
came from a person who's not actually entrepreneur. It came from an organizer.
He's very systematic.
Yeah,
very systematic. And I think that's like the engineer in me, right? So with the engineer is like very much
organized.
But I just like to say, because a lot of us, I feel like for guys, like Jabril said, you start doing something like let's say you get successful, you've got a professional career, you get good at what you're doing, and then you hide in a corner, and you just go to work, go home, focus on your family. And for someone like you saying, like I'm not entrepreneurial, like regardless, you've got a family, you're working, you're doing this on the side, you've got a social life, like, so there's a lot that you're trying to do. So what would you say to people that say, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy for that,
or I don't have the capacity,
or I don't have the capacity? Because how do you balance, like for example now, how do you balance all of that?
Yeah, you have to find the time, I guess. And it's like, what are you passionate about? Like you've got I think that statement is very disingenuous when people say, I haven't got the capacity. Well, you have capacity for something. Like if you're not doing this, you're kind of doing something else, right? So just kind of pick your poison, pick what you want to do, right? For me, like, so that cake, I genuinely love them. I'm the first to always, try to promote it. Anytime I hear about a Somali business or whatever, I'm like, yeah, support, and that's me, right? And for other people, they're gonna find their passion, in whatever they do. As long as they find something that they are passionate about. More time you'll see people they're happy to just kind of not be entrepreneurial, which is absolutely fine as well. Do your thing and then go back and there's nothing wrong with that as well. There's nothing, but it's more on like, are there Somalis or are there people that are doing this? Absolutely, there's so many. I never knew how much there was until you
just put that out there.
Yeah, you just put it out there and you're like, whoa, where have you all been hiding? And now I'm seeing them everywhere. People who are super successful, doing amazing things, building companies, raising so much money, providing that value, and subhanallah. So it's only when we open our eyes we get to kind of see it. And what you guys are doing is incredible as well, showcasing that. And I think if we had this grown up, it would have made life a lot easier. But alhamdulillah, we're here now, and the next generation, they're going to take it to new heights. So alhamdulillah, we try to lay the foundation or the pathway as much as we can.
Do what you can.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's amazing, and I think 100% agree with it. Like everyone has to have a why.
Yes.
And some people have their why is community development, community building.
Yeah.
They're passionate about helping others. For someone else, it might be like business, entrepreneurship. Like, you just have to find whatever you're passionate about and just follow that. So what year did Somalis in Tech start?
I would say the end of 2019 is when initial steps
You were in
began.
that CAF?
Yeah. 2019 was the CAF. It was the CAF.
By the way, have you seen that brother again?
I have not. No, I have not, bro. That's wild.
If you tell that to one of our elders, they will say, "Oh, chumbo."
So it was 2019, but we kicked it off 2020 with our first event that was scheduled the week that it was lockdown. And then obviously we went into lockdown and everyone was just on survival mode. SubhanAllah. COVID was that whole period is a blur. It's wild. And I think and that's the period where we kind of took off as well, because everyone was at home. People in tech been used to working from home, and then that's when a lot of people were like, hold up, this is like a career, like people can do this, like
be at home and
you're right. So and we had like a series of webinars. We did hackathons where we kind of brought together people of different disciplines, and they would try to solve a problem. So one of the first hackathons that we did was on COVID, right? And people would come together, bring some ideas, and come up with some solutions, in and around COVID. There were some amazing apps that were created, and a few people kind of started businesses off the back of that, and it's just incredible. I think one takeaway that I genuinely take from this whole experience is just show up, just show up and just do. Intakale ilahi daf, right? Like just show up. That's it. And ilahi will take the steering wheel, And there's another saying, like, build it and they will come, right? Do it. Leave the rest to ilahi.
When you first started, and how that you said it started off in COVID and it was online, and the subsequent events afterwards, were there any like challenges that you faced, whether they're from people around you or going around? Because it's a new concept, new idea, and for a lot of people, it's going out of their comfort zone. It's like, oh, what's going on? So was there anything that you might have experienced when starting?
To be honest, nothing kind of screams at me, because we've been very much, we don't go we were all volunteers. Like, we don't get paid for this or anything like that, right? So it was purely, and it still is right now, purely, from giving back to the community. We see the vision and all that. And we know our capacity. Everyone like had a full-time job, and this is not a full-time job thing, right? So everything that we kind of committed to had to be within our capacity. So we wouldn't overpromise. Like, we're not accountable to anyone else but ourselves. So alhamdulillah, we really understood that, and we were able to kind of just deliver, one thing at a time, set some goals. More time we would, surpass that goal significantly, And right now, I think one of the biggest challenges, we're coming up to almost 5 years, right? So one of the biggest challenges, okay, how do we sustain this, right? Not only sustain it, but take it to the next level. And this is now where we kind of come in, to the realm of rejigging the organization. Because up until now, it's been good enough existing, and it served the value, and it served the purpose, and people have been benefiting. But okay, beyond that, what do we want to do? And that's where we're right now, kind of, bringing that energy back, bolstering everyone's trying to figure that out, and seeing everyone's capacity. But also now we're going to kind of open up to the community as well. So if people are passionate and want to get involved, we encourage them to kind of get in contact, and we're going to be sending out some application forms if they really want to be a part of the committee and to take this thing through. And I guess again, one of the biggest challenges is, okay, how do we make succession planning a real thing, not just in name, right? How can we allow this thing to outgrow us? One day, you know what I mean? So how can this continue? So that's basically what we're kind of formulating. What does that look like? If someone gets involved now, can they take over Hadoti one day? That's what we're trying to put in place.
It's a very important thing. Nothing comes out of a vacuum. If you look at all the civilizations in the world, right? Like, every civilization had a period of inventing stuff. Like, in the whole, like, for example, like the Greeks, like a lot of people talk about, right? Like, every Greek that existed within 100 years of each other. Like, you have Socrates, you have Plato, and Aristotle. That's it. Like, they lived, like, they saw each other. So, for example, if you see in the Muslim, like, golden age, it was literally that all of the Abbasids, like 700, like 600, 400 years maybe, like that. So they, or for example, the English like Industrial Revolution, it's like 100 years maybe. So then afterwards, a new generation picks up. So it's if you want to have like legacy, you have to start, and then you have to have something to be inherited from you. So that can they build? Nobody can build on nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And just going off of that,
Yeah.
I remember on a previous episode when Ali was speaking about, within our community, the older generation,
yeah.
they don't have succession planning
Yes.
because they don't really want to give it
Give away, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we were talking about that, and Ali mentioned something very important, and he said, "You guys have jobs.
Yes.
You guys have things that
Yeah.
you actually have focus on. So
Mhm.
these projects you're doing it to give back to the community." He said the older generation need it for status because they left Africa back home
Mhm.
and they've come here and lost everything. So now they're finally getting
Yeah.
that status back. If they're Madhab Malki Masajid or whatever, like
Yeah.
he's at a
Organizations, all that,
position,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't want to let it go because then what is he going to do then? Do you know what I mean? But it's very important for us if we start organizations that we put things in place where I'd rather it outgrows me.
100%.
Do you mean-
That's from
I
the
think
jump.
it's a saying that said a society will grow when old men plant trees that they will not see.
Absolutely.
I think I heard that. It's a
Yup.
saying. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yup.
So like this is an idea, like coming together, like working together, building something new. Honestly, I think you guys can build up something back home actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like making up like schools, like maybe hiring them. You don't actually have to go to another country anymore.
No,
You can go hire people back in Somali, like, for example, right?
exactly. And
So yeah,
and alhamdulillah, we've been privileged to kind of be connected with people back home as
Yeah.
well, and we showcase them. There are a lot of organizations that are doing incredible stuff. There's, I think, one called Rise. There's also Fikir Camp in Somaliland. There's amazing organizations back
Yeah.
home, right? And I go,
Fikir
we
camp.
yeah.
That's a nice one, right?
yeah.
Sick,
So
yeah.
so we don't have the Moses complex in Anaga. We're gonna solve all problems.
Yeah.
Not in Mother. No. Oro, there's people doing amazing things. Check them out.
Yeah.
Work us out.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes with people they feel like they have all the answers, right?
Yeah.
We are fully conscious that we do not have
Yeah.
all the answers, and there are amazing organizations doing things. You've got an idea. Go first of all before you think you have the solution. See who's actually putting the legwork.
Yeah.
Support them.
Yeah.
In that vision. Where there's a gap, create an opportunity.
Yeah.
One thing that has been incredible to see. I don't know if the different organizations existed before, but after Somalis in tech, I started to see a lot more Somali organizations.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Amazing. So. And it's just a matter of kind of highlighting that and really working together and be like, okay, that can the expertise in this. Okay, I'll put my trust in these guys and
I think like in the last 5 years or post COVID, it's been 5 years. No, COVID. I feel like it was
4 years.
4 years. COVID was gone. I feel like in the last couple of years, a lot of people have realized, you can only go so far on your own.
Oh, absolutely.
You probably reached as much as you could trying to make it, this Western individualistic mindset has gotten to the point where it needs to get to. But then people are slowly realizing the value of networking, the value of conjoining and, bringing ideas together and going forward. And that's probably why you've seen all the new organizations coming forward. But I feel like we have a couple of minds, you can create something amazing, Alhamdulillah. So it is wonderful to see, and hopefully, inshallah, it sustains itself.
Yes, and that's the idea, right? And to the point of the uncles that love the title, it's responsibility, right? I don't see what's so extravagant about taking this level of mas'uliyah, this level of responsibility. It's stressful, it's a headache, especially if you believe in it. If you're trying to do a good job, it will consume your mind,
weighs
right?
on you, yeah.
Whereas people who are unfit for the job want the title, like, sit back. That's not it. That's not it,
because
man. That's not it. That's not it.
They're dumb enough to not understand what they're doing.
Yeah, it's very difficult,
That's it.
So a part of kind of putting that succession plan in place is so that we can kind of sit back and just watch from afar and just be like,
What do you look for? Like if you're just putting it out there now,
as in the team or
in the team and qualities and like what is it that you're looking for in terms of
Yes, absolutely. Very good question. I guess one of the things that I feel like I pride myself in knowing what good looks like, and the thing that I look for initially is people who can kind of fill the gap or fill the areas that I'm missing, right? I'm not good with social media. I'm not good with, you know, building a community. I'm great at tech, you know, like I'm an engineer. That's me, right? That's where my passion is, right? But all those other areas, it's not my expertise. So you get the experts, or you get the people who are passionate about it, right? And the thing that I look for is people who have a bias for action, not people who have, you know, talent or like the people who just got like but won't put their money where their mouth is and do things, right?
Yeah.
Great. Like you want to talk about it and put it in theory, go over there, you know.
Go
But
write a book, man.
go write a book. But if you see the vision and you see like where there's a gap or you have a great idea, okay, like back it up now, you know. So people who have a bias for action, who care about other people, who care about their people, you know, and want to grow, who are curious, who are problem solvers, Kalia. You know, those are the type of things that I look for.
I'm going to ask you a few questions about tech itself, because we're not from the tech field. I'm not from the tech field.
Yeah.
Very ignorant, right?
Okay.
So, like 2020, COVID happened. Obviously, there's working from home now.
Right.
People from our traditionalists, we go to work, we come back home, right? Like now, you read some things online. Like maybe there was an over hiring during COVID. A lot of people have been laid off, for example. Second thing, like AI. What's AI's role in future and tech? And thirdly, like with the boom that he had earlier on, is it still like a viable career for a lot of people?
Those are very good questions. And I think the tech scene right now isn't what it was in like during COVID. First of all, COVID was a weird time. You know, interest rates were really low. So companies could, you know, take out, you know, loans at a cheap rate and just hire, you know, people. So there was mass hiring at the time. And a lot of people, so after COVID, we had the tech crash, you know, and stock prices started plummeting. And first thing that gets laid off is like staff usually, right? And then you're hearing Google laying off thousands of people, you know, Netflix, these big companies just laying off people in droves. So your question around like, is it viable? It's a lot more challenging. It's definitely a lot more challenging, but it is still viable. Companies are still hiring for junior roles, so people who are, you know, fresh from university. But with AI, as you mentioned, whenever there's like a technological shift, you also have to shift. You got to move with the market, and that hasn't changed, right? Even within the tech space, you need to always. It's lifelong learning. You have to always be, you know, what's the state of the art? What's latest and greatest? Be on top of it. Build. So this is more for the technical people, right? Like just being up to date with your skill set. And I'm sure even as doctors, you have to kind of be, you know, up to date with latest regulations and right.
It's not as fast as you guys, but
technology is crazy. That's why the bidar is real right now for me. You know what I mean? So it genuinely is. And there is opportunity. We're in a period of time right now similar to the .com bubble, where you would have all these Amazons popping up and these Googles. Now AI is kind of fresh. Right now it's kind of maturing a little bit. And people are kind of past the hype stage. And they're realizing that AI is definitely a great commodity. It's an amplifier. It allows you to, it's an incredible tool. I currently work at an AI startup. So we have a product that just makes recruitment ridiculously, you know, it saves recruiters so much time using our tool. And that's what it is, right? You've got another tool in the tool set that you could leverage, that you could use to solve problems. And technology, that's the name of the game. You're solving problems using all the tools around you, right? And that's what it comes down to. We don't fall in love with a, you know, there's a saying like,
JavaScript.
Yeah, no, man. Like the best code is no code, literally. But it's
what
like
did you say? Best code is no code.
The best code is no code. Like
What is that?
the meaning, like the best type of system is the one that you don't need to constantly maintain, right? When you write code, that means you have to maintain it. You have to look back at it. If certain things need to be updated, you have to update it, right? But when there's like a system that you don't need to write code, you can just drag and drop things and make life easier for yourself. And now AI allows for people to do that. You know, you can build full applications by talking to, you know, your machine. It's crazy. It's wild. So I would encourage people. Yes, it's not the same as before, but where there are, life is all about balance, right? Where something is taken here, another thing will pop up, right? So find out what's going on. Don't be disheartened, and get cracking. You know.
Can I ask a question? What, like, for someone, let's say someone who wants to pivot, right? Or a young kid who thinks, you know what, I want to get into tech. What's the direction you would point him in within tech right now?
Right now, that's a difficult question, right? So I would definitely say fall in love with in general, and this is beyond like the technical. I would say always like fall in love with problems, not the solutions, right? Like try to identify areas of opportunity and double down, right? Again, that's if you're like trying to start a company or trying to build a project. I would always, encourage people, if you're in tech, just to kind of, tinker, build things. YouTube, plenty of resources. Type away, talk to AI. Say, hey, I am, 15 years old, doing my GCSEs. I don't know what to do. You'll get some sort of guidance. Leverage Somalis in tech, of course. There's a and people do. We hooked up children for work experience. We take them under our wing and we show them a life in the day or 2-week program.
I think the only reason I'm asking is because I know a lot of people will be thinking that like they want to get into tech from other professions or they're in schools and colleges and they're thinking, from my limited knowledge, there's front end, back end, full stack.
There's a vast
this and that, blah blah blah, cybersecurity, AI. Yeah. So for me, it's all jargon.
Right.
Yes. Do you know what I mean? And for a lot of people who wants to go into tech, it's jargon.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? You feel overwhelmed.
Honestly, it's very confusing.
It's jargon. Yeah, wallahi, it is. It is. And from a personal experience, I didn't even know what it was. I just jumped into it. I didn't even know what I jumped into. Wallahi, that's the truth, right? So, and it took me a year and a half to start really enjoying it as well. But yes, it is jargon up until a certain point. Like everything, research it, right? Find out how do we put together a resource guide. I can share it with you guys as well, where it kind of outlines all the different kind of careers within tech. Like you mentioned, you have the technical roles, cybersecurity, data analyst, or data engineer, a machine learning engineer, software engineer. And then you've got like the non-technical roles like researchers, UX designers, or product managers, agile coach. There's so many roles within tech. It's like a tree. It's got so many branches, right? And the roots, I feel like the roots are kind of similar. Just I'll say like problem solving skills, compassion, communication skills. Like these are transferable skills wherever you go. And that's the foundation, I would say, in every, and it's a matter of kind of identifying, okay, hold up, this role, the type of skill sets that really allow me to, jump onto this role. I have these skill sets. Let me explore it a little bit more. Or they have to do the homework, basically. They have to do a bit of homework.
What we'll do is we'll share it with us, and we'll share it with everyone as well.
Absolutely,
because it's important if we can help them just with
some guidance. Some guidance. Absolutely, we'll be more than happy to share that, inshallah. And I think beyond that resource, there's loads of resources online. There's one website called Prospects, I think, which is really good
for careers and stuff.
For careers, and it shows you like the pathway, like different roles in that you can get after completing certain courses at university or after school or after college and things like that. So just leverage all the resources out there. The information's out there.
So with Hadda, like with your trajectory at Barik, where you are now, what are you thinking, Hadda, in the future for yourself? What are you thinking?
I don't know, man. So
Abshir in the next 5 years.
So I don't have that. I hate thinking about. That's one of my weaknesses. I can't think far ahead, right? So there are a few goals that I set myself in the past. Around starting my career and all that kind of stuff. Alhamdulillah, I'm well established in my area. So I don't know. Maybe one day I will start my own company. Like a startup or something like that. But right now, the safe. Even though I joined a startup, which came with a lot of risk as well, because startups, they fail, right? So I joined as their founding engineer. As soon as they raised money, I was like the first person that
Are you allowed
joined
to
it.
say what you guys doing? Or
Yes,
is
yes.
it-
So it's
yeah.
an AI company called Pop AI
Okay.
Pop
and
AI.
Pop
Oh
AI.
yeah,
yeah.
you true. You talk about recruitment, yes.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I had the right now joined there January, and as a result of alhamdulillah, putting in some great work, working with the team, we were able to kind of raise another investment round. We were able to kind of secure some really big companies, and we're growing the team, right? So that for me has been wonderful to see like a simple, like when I joined, it was like an MVP. Like it gave me the car when I saw it. I'm like, whoa, okay, let's scale this out, So alhamdulillah, we're able to kind of scale that out, build it, and to the point where people find it really valuable. I guess it's like seeing it grow a little bit further. I don't know what the future holds, to be honest. I genuinely don't.
I think you slightly touched on Somalis in tech as well.
Yes.
Future, how that will be the succession.
Yes. How the Somalis in tech, the future is going to involve a lot more people. So it's people who really have a passion, and a bias for action. The areas we want to be very research focused now. So producing, articles or papers or white papers that can be used in policy making or decision making, here and abroad, in Watanka, right? Understanding the landscape, like what do people need? Identifying this and bringing it to light, like writing quality articles, doing proper research. That's one aspect of it. So being research oriented. The other is solving problems. We have one of the things that we like to do is like in tech, we're very lean, right? We won't over engineer things. We just build things and then just keep improving. And one of the first things that we built came from like community demand. Everyone like was really interested in mentorship. So we were like matchmaking, doing manually matching people up and saying, you know what? Well, hadla, right? That doesn't scale.
Yeah.
So we built a platform called Caawi. So Caawi.so. And Caawi allows you to find a mentor, and then book a meeting with them and just talk to them. Somali, built by us, for us, right? So, and that's live. People are using it and it's providing value. People book meetings with me. One sister, Amina, mashallah, she's also like in healthcare. She messaged me, she says, hey, someone reached out to me, about healthcare, So it's not just tech. And even though we're Somalis in tech, we like the world's not just tech. and we would encourage people to explore things, don't follow the herd or whatever. Just like really understand what you like and talk to people and
use the resources.
Use the resources. And when something's built, leverage it,
It's true because one of the things, not inshallah, but one of we're going to lose as our parents' generation dies, or the people that are older than us, is the community cohesion. Like now we have to be you build a website for that, but our parents would know a person that do that stuff.
Yes, they'll say, but that
if you're going to a place, he lives there. He lives there.
Exactly.
So, but it's very. We have to, new times, new challenges. We have to come with new solutions.
And those stories are what kind of built us. We grew up hearing about someone will go from the north of Somalia to the south with nothing but the clothes on their back, and they will be able to kind of go be hosted in a home, and then we'll travel, right? That's who we are, man. So that's in our nature. That's in our nature. That and kaftan.
It's a good thing about our culture. Like one of the good things is that we actually help each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we grew up in the West and we have a lot of this Western mentality and culture in us that, I'm afraid of everyone. I'm like individualistic. I don't care about.
That's a udhr.
Yeah, it's an udhr, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing that you actually are trying to infuse that with our culture.
100%. Absolutely. And there's this saying. There's one brother on Twitter that I love so much, mashallah, Aziz. He's from Canada, and he's maintaining the culture. One tweet at a time. He's got like he showcases our Hidi Dakan, like a few things here and there, right? And regularly he'll post mahmahs, right? And we all grew up with mahmah, and there's one mahmah that we always plaster around everywhere, which is aqon la'an wa iftin la'an, right? And that's an important one. Like be skilled up in something.
Yeah.
Get that knowledge. That knowledge is light for you, hadoti, right? Well, if you're in a dark room and you you can't see anything, even a little bit of light will guide you, right?
Facts.
So gain that knowledge. You know, double down on your craft. Get great at it, right? So those are like our core principles. And there's one other mahma that we really love, which is farkiliya fol madaqla. You can't wash your face with a finger, right?
Yeah.
You gotta use your whole hand.
Yes, it's true.
That's the community right there.
Absolutely.
That's us. So we have to, you know, tap into that culture. Really, embrace it. Yeah.
And one final question: what would be one piece of advice for your younger self?
One piece of advice for my younger self. What, you know, these kind of questions are difficult.
هذا ويبنى له هذا house hokum.
Markle Koba is the hardest part, man. Wallahi, I would say
15-year-old Abshir.
15-year-old Abshir. Yeah, محنكودي لها دينت هذا كدك. I would say always, you know, دينت that is the thing that يعني مش ما كنت جينا بدون كوالا كنت جا, right? All of this, and one day when you're in the grave, it means nothing in the sight of the inevitable. None of this really, So it's like prepare for the true life, which is yet to come. So, inshallah.
How is intention?
إلهي أنا قد يكون كواس إن شاء الله.
Everyone that's doing anything for community,
yeah.
you know, you can do the same thing,
yeah,
and have a different result out of it just because of your niyyah.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have
and continuous renewing of intention, because intentions can more حتى Basha can get شيطان can مشكل بحفاته. So we say أعوذ بالله بسم الله إلهي أنا قاعد.
It's I think it's a hadith that said if you help your brother, having like uplifting a problem,
100%,
Allah will uplift your problems.
100%. I fully believe that, you know. And another thing that Mahan Kodela is, which is counterintuitive, is that that's the qasid.
Yes.
Yani, you're giving away money, but like it comes back. Another thing is yani iyalka, right? So what's it called? Sometimes people get stressed. Oh, I can't have kids because I'm gonna get poor or wherever. Bro, their rizq is written for them. Wallahi, hakabakin. That's a promise from Ilahi. That's you're not the one sustaining them, it's Ilahi.
Absolutely.
And sadaqah is time, is money, is effort, is
exactly
energy,
exactly. People think it's just mahan kulila mal. هذا المعنى يعني a smile is sadaqah, right? How many times in the morning sometimes I'll be walking and someone will smile. That uplifts me. I'm like, wow, I walk with a spring in my step, you know. Oh, that's nice. Mashallah.
No, wallahi, you know what? Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for coming on the episode today. It's one of those episodes I was looking forward to a lot personally. And you know how I am, like, I've learned a lot. And wallahi, your story is very inspiring. Allah barak. So thank you for coming. It was much appreciated. And make sure you guys tune in and check in Somalis in Tech, inshallah, and all the resources will be plugged in, such as
Caawi, join the Slack community, you know. And if you want to get involved in that, feel free to contact us, inshallah.
Now, this will be the beginning for the collaboration between Somalis in Tech and Scope.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Absolutely.
So we have to speak into existence.
Inshallah.
So inshallah, we'll do a lot more things.
Amazing.
Well, let's go back here. We need 30 more Somalis in Tech, 30 more Scopes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not enough.
Inshallah.
Everyone needs to do, and there's space for everyone. So
absolutely.
It's an absolute honor and pleasure to host you, bro.
Thank you for inviting me, guys.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.
جزاك الله خير.